Welcome back everybody to the channel. My name is Raul Alejandro Mendoza, or the Nerd Chicano. Doesn't really matter, it's all good here. And I'm here to do a little something different this time. So I have been running a Twitter thread for like 2 years now. Every year I put a thread of all the movies that I watch, and honestly it's a lot to get a hold of, and it's a lot to keep up to date because sometimes I forget to post entries, and honestly I got you know, it's tiring sometimes. And I do a list on Letterboxd of everything I watched during the year, but I thought, you know what, I have this little idea, and I think it'd be really nice if I can do this, so that way I can give a little bit of thoughts into what I watch during the week that I don't actually get to talk on podcasts or on videos here, because there are some I don't just watch to watch. I don't only just watch for content. I also watch to watch. So this is the weekly real recap. And this week we are looking at the movies that I watched during the week of January 10th until the 17th. And as we are speaking, I've watched, as of right now, since we are speaking on this wonderful Sunday, I watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies. So a movie per day, I guess, if you can say it like that. But yeah, so let's get into this. I want to see what we can talk about here. And to start off the week on the 10th, I watched Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket on my 4K player. I watched my disc that I bought during Black Friday. I'm going to be posting a review up there for that soon in the channel. And yeah, Full Metal Jacket looks at the Vietnam War through the lens of Stanley Kubrick's eyes. And we are looking at a bunch of soldiers who have been drafted to the war as they prepare to go to Vietnam. And when they get to Vietnam, it is beyond their wildest expectations of what goes down. I love this movie. It's the second time I actually watched this movie. I watched this one first time when I was in freshman year of college in my dorm, and this was the second time I watched. The first time I've ever watched it in the 4K format. So I really like this movie, and yeah, it's not my favorite of Stanley Kubrick's movies, but it is still a really good entry into the filmography of Stanley Kubrick. And then on the 11th, I went ahead and joined my good friend and the guy who is recording this video for me, helping me record, my good friend Luis, who you can find at Luigi on IG and Luis A. Garcia 001 on Twitter. We're watching the Scream movies because we want to go and watch Scream in the theaters, and we watched the first one on the 11th, and yeah, I had seen this one before, but it had been a long time since I had watched Scream, but I finally was able to watch it, and man, I love this movie. I really like this movie. It's nice to revisit one of these, like, you know, cult horror classics that everybody talks about. That's kind of like also a movie that commentates against why horror can be very tropey at times. And yeah, surprisingly, it's a movie that I really like, and I had a really good time with it. And I'm glad that it wasn't soured throughout the many years that I haven't watched it. And I did a commentary with Luis, and that's all going to be on his Patreon and on his YouTube channel. So, you know, a lot more details to come about that when they come. On the 12th, I received a package, and I got my Dune 4K Steelbook, which you guys are going to be able to see at the end of the month when I do my January collection update. But I watched Dune on 4K on my 4K player and on my friend's Luis's TV. Looks amazing. This movie is still amazing, man. It's still, bar none, is my favorite movie from last year. This movie sounds amazing. It looks amazing. And this new disc, it's fantastic. I want to talk about it, but that will be for another time during the collection update, because this is amazing, man. I mean, this movie is stacked with the cast. The score is fantastic from Hans Zimmer. The writing and directing is great from Denis Villeneuve. And yeah, what else can there be said that has not been said? Then on the 14th, I watched a movie that we actually this is actually the 13th. I'm sorry, I just put it on Letterboxd on the 14th, but this is the 13th. And I watched the movie from Yasuhiro Ozu that we finally covered on the Nerdcore to finally close off our month on the public side of the podcast. That is none other than his 1949 film, Late Spring. Late Spring is an interesting film. It's about, this girl who is kind of stuck in the midst between, what her father wants from her to marry, and kind of what she wants. And she's stuck in the middle of it all, and she just wants to take care of her father. And we kind of look at, this journey between, societal standards and gender norms, but also the importance of, the family once we're recuperating from post-war Japan. I like this movie a lot. It's actually one of my favorite from Ozu. It's my second favorite from Ozu. My first one being Tokyo Story, of course, if you've been listening to the podcast. And this was a really good watch, and I really like this movie. You guys can go check that out, thenerdcore.com or on anchor.fm/thenerdcore. Check out the episode that we did on Late Spring. Now, the 14th, this was actually on the 14th, I watched a movie that what's it called? I was kind of apprehensive about. So we continued on, my friend Luis and I. We went to Scream 2. And I thought, oh man, I hope this isn't like much of these horror sequels that are usually not as good as the originals. But, we were apprehensive. But I'm not going to lie, guys. I really liked Scream 2. I liked it just as much, but not more than the original. And I liked it. And I thought that it was a pleasant surprise. I thought that it worked, and it still very much kept me engaged with the plot and the characters, and of course, slasher goodness. What else can you ask for? Of course, that commentary is coming over to Luis's channel. You can check all that wonderful stuff when that happens. But Scream 2, I very much liked. Now, on around like 10-ish on the 14th, I started a movie, but I finished it on the 15th because I finished it around midnight. That is none other than Kenneth Branagh's new film, Belfast. And this is the only movie this week that I didn't like. I didn't like Belfast. Belfast looks at a family during the troubles in Belfast, and as they're trying to maneuver everything that's going on around them, they are having to come to terms with the fact that they might have to leave their beloved city. And the film, it looks gorgeous. It really does. It looks fantastic. It's performed well. I think it's just juggling too many tones at the same time, and some stuff just isn't as interesting of what comes before. And as I expressed in my review on Letterboxd, when this movie really starts to engage you and really gauge your interest, it just loses its steam and just never recuperates from it. So Belfast is just wasn't my cup of tea. Now, today on the 15th as well, yesterday I watched a movie that I had to watch for the cinema condition, which will be coming out on Wednesday for you all on anchor.fm/the cinema condition. I watched Apocalypse Now, the final cut on 4K on my 4K player and on my friend Luis's TV, of course. And this movie's amazing, guys. I mean, this disc is fantastic. I won't have a review for it because I'm already going to have a cinema condition episode for it. But I'll go ahead and offer you some thoughts here. This disc is amazing. It's the best that this movie has ever looked, and it is a necessary buy for those of you who love this movie and have a 4K setup. This movie is incredible, and this movie truly is one of the greatest movies of all time. It's a slow burn, but it's a necessary slow burn into the descent of madness that is the Vietnam War. And I love this movie, and it's definitely an interesting conversation. So be on the lookout when this comes out, when the episode of the cinema condition comes out on this movie. But that's it. That's all I've had for the week, guys. As always, you can keep up to date with me on everything that I do on the internet by going into my Twitter, the Nerdy Chicano, at the Nerdy Chicano, on Instagram at the Nerdy Chicano, and on Letterboxd. Go ahead and follow so we can see what movies we watch and all that wonderful stuff by going to check me out there under the Nerdy Chicano as well, twitch.tv/the Nerdy Chicano, and make sure you leave a like and you subscribe to the YouTube channel. and you go ahead and turn that notification bell on. It's going to make sure you get all the notifications that when these videos go live, so you don't miss a lick of content. And yeah, this has been fun. We'll see each other next week when I detail to you all what else I watched next week. But in the meantime, it's been fun. I like this. I think this works better than the Twitter thread. And plus, it gets you to watch some of this. So make sure you guys keep spreading the word of the channel. Make sure that you go and check out all the wonderful stuff I do on the website for the Nerdcore, thenerdcore.com. So you can check out all the reviews I do and all my podcasts that I'm on. And also make sure that you help get the channel to 100 subscribers. Because when we get to 100 subscribers, we get a custom URL. And we need it. We need it because I'm tired of letters and numbers. So go do that, please. And of course, I don't really have an outro, but I do like to tell you wonderful cinephiles and renowned scholars to relish in the love of cinema. I'll see you all in the next one.